Welcome to Cool Tunes for a Hot Planet, the podcast where music inspires action for social and climate justice.
Hi, I'm Warren Senders, and this is Cool Tunes for a Hot Planet, the podcast that brings music to inspire us in the struggle against climate change. Before you forget, please push those like and subscribe buttons. Today, it's a very special episode. It's our 1-year anniversary. We've been podcasting for 1 full year, at first monthly and more recently twice a month. So we're going to make today's episode a little longer than usual and give each of the members of the podcast team a few minutes to talk about the music video they're going to present. Some of it will be a look back at a couple of our favorites from the past, and some will be new, including a Chinese climate change rap song by Janelle Chang, our Cool Tunes intern. Cool Tunes for a Hot Planet is an offshoot of the nonprofit climate change organization Third Act, founded by renowned environmentalist, activist, and educator Bill McKibben. He's the author of The End of Nature and numerous books on global warming and other social and environmental issues, the organizer of the global environmental group 350.org, the winner of the Gandhi Peace Award, and an all-around great guy. Bill McKibben is practically a force of nature himself. We're very fortunate to be talking with Bill a little later on. But first, let's kick off today's show with something from one of our producers, Mark Lagerwey, and his latest song, inspired in part by Bill McKibben's work, Solar Power Forever.
Greetings, Cool Tuners from Alaska. You see behind me tundra that's melting, unfortunately, and growth of brush that is becoming much more profuse and changing the whole ecology. I'm exceedingly grateful to have my song, Solar Power Forever, part of this anniversary episode of the Cool Tunes for a Hot Planet. This is a song that expresses both lament and hope about the future. The sun shines clean, it's free, it's warm. It shines on Earth, it's solar power. I'm also very grateful that my song is included with this episode with the interview with Bill McKibben in honor of his new book, Here Comes the Sun. Let's work together to re-embrace hope and to not despair, but to do our part to help overcome global warming. Thank you.
Yukon Glacier left its valley, no longer to the Arctic flowing. Summer heat wave, Canadian fires, future smoky, warnings dire. Jet stream clouds the east coast air. Eyes start burning everywhere. Carbon footprint keeps expanding. Ecosystems quickly changing. What do we know? What can we do to offset carbon, reverse the flow, relinquish wealth and care to survive? All work together to keep Earth alive. The sun shines clean, it's free, it's warm. It winds and spirals around the storm. The shines on earth, it's solar power. The sun shines clean, it's free forever. The sun shines clean, it's free forever. Waves and tides throughout the ocean gently shift without commotion. Clashing currents deep below change direction of their flow. Antarctic ice is cracking, angry dark seas are rising, Middle Earth equators blazing, coal and oil our planet's choking. What do we know? What can we do to offset carbon, reverse the flow, relinquish wealth and care to survive? All work together to keep Earth alive. The sun shines clean, it's free, it's warm. It winds and spirals around the storm. Blusters across the wind-bladed tower. Shines on earth, its solar power. The sun shines clean, it's free forever. The sun shines clean, it's free forever.
Hi friends, I'm Sandy O from Emma's Revolution.
And I'm Pat Humphreys.
We want to send a great big congratulations to Cool Tunes for a Hot Planet for your first year.
And we were delighted to have been part of episode 5 with our song, Our House is on Fire.
And we've enjoyed hearing from artists who are new to us, who also focus on climate and justice issues, and of course to hear from a lot of our favorite performers.
Great to be part of this larger community focusing on the climate, and also to connect again with Bill McKibben, whom we did a number of things with when we were on the East Coast.
There's certainly a lot to sing about and to take action about in these times. So stay strong, stay cool, and we'll see you in the streets.
Speaking of solar power, and as part of our celebration episode, I'm honored to bring you an interview with our very special guest, Bill McKibben. Tell me just a little bit about how Here Comes the Sun came to be.
Well, as you know, I've spent my life working on this climate crisis, wrote the first book about what we then called the greenhouse effect back in the 1980s. And obviously that's a despairing business, and this is a despairing time in lots of ways. But about two and a half years ago, really began to notice, from especially watching elsewhere around the world, that the breakout was finally underway for renewable energy. That because it was now cheaper than coal and gas and oil, it was starting to be adopted at really remarkable volumes. First and foremost in China, which as of this spring is building the equivalent of a coal-fired power plant's worth of solar panels every 8 hours. But also in parts of this country. California now is producing most days more than 100% of the electricity that it uses from renewable energy, which means that at night the power that supplies its grid comes largely from batteries that spent the afternoon soaking up excess sunshine. And California is using 40% less natural gas this summer to produce electricity than they did 2 years ago. That's as hopeful a statistic as I've seen in all my years of working on this.
California is like what, the
Fourth
fourth?
largest economy in the world. Yeah, so it's not like an insignificant data point. Um, it's not that we're going to do this. In fact, at the moment, the Trump administration is doing everything they can to slow it down. But for the first time, there is something we could do if we were really determined to slow down the rate at which the planet is warming. And that to me is an exhilarating new reality and gives me reason to continue to try and work as hard as I can. Among other things, it's why we're hard at work on Sunday for September to kind of bring this news as widely and broadly as we can.
Tell me a little bit more about Sunday.
September 21st, the autumnal equinox, will be a day of hundreds and hundreds of celebrations around the country. Many of them festive, e-bike parades, people opening their homes to their neighbors so they can see their heat pump solar powered concerts. Some of them angry, people protesting new gas pipelines now that we clearly do not need any of this anymore. So it'll be a day to try and drive home the new reality that this is not alternative energy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And we should stop thinking about it that way, though we have for 40 years. We now live on a planet where the cheapest way to make power is to point a sheet of glass at the sun. The obvious, straightforward, common sense way to power the future is with sun and wind and batteries. It's not the Whole Foods of energy anymore, nice but pricey. It's the Costco of energy, cheap, available in bulk, on the shelf right now.
It's extraordinary how our capitalist industries have managed to normalize all of these sorts of things that I was struck by your phrase, the constant incineration of assets, how fossil fuel companies manage to normalize that and make it seem like a perfectly rational thing to do. It's the equivalent of eating your seed corn.
That's right. I mean, it seems very normal to us because we've been doing it for a very long time. But if you think about it for a moment, the fossil fuel system on which we depend is a remarkably complicated and janky one. At this point, you have to be able to drill for oil miles beneath, say, the surface of the ocean, somehow get it pumped to a refinery where you go through a laborious process to separate it into various products, ship the gas off to a gas station. You have to fill it with your car whose engine has a couple of thousand moving parts because it has to control the combustion of that liquid fuel to drive you down the road, all the while wasting 70% of the energy as waste heat. Whereas, at my house, the solar panels on my roof are connected by a cord to the car in my garage, which has about 20 moving parts to move me away 3 to 4 times more efficiently in its use of energy than the internal combustion car it replaces.
If we grant for a moment that all of our energy, aside from nuclear, is one form or another of solar, and it's so coal is just really old solar.
Yep.
It seems to me there's a kind of inverse cost. The older the solar, either the harder it is or the more damaging it is to get it out and put it to use.
And the sun just bathes us in photons every day. And of course, the sun also, by differentially heating the earth, produces the wind that turns those majestic turbines. All the power we could ever want. The same local star that kindly provides us with light and warmth and photosynthesis is willing to give us all the power that we need. This is a great gift for everyone except the people who own coal mines, oil wells, gas fields. For them, it's an existential threat, which helps explain, I think, why they poured unprecedented amounts of money into the last electoral cycle and why they're now getting their reward in the form of the president banning solar and wind from federal lands and trying to shut down offshore wind turbines and give new tax breaks, yet more subsidies to the fossil fuel industry, and on and on and on. So it's a real fight. These guys have lots of money with which to game our political system. And I don't know how it will come out here. I'm confident that in the rest of the world, we're going to see this very rapid conversion to solar power. It's happening now most places. It's possible that America just won't be able to do it, and that 10 years from now or 20 will exist as a kind of strange museum of antiquated technology that the rest of the world comes to marvel at how people used to do things. Um, but if we do, we'll be a dramatically impoverished place.
I'm reminded when you were talking about the whole idea of dispersed grids, and you mentioned this in Pakistan. I lived in India for many years, and one of the things that I saw when I was first there in the 1980s was all of the landlines that were operating telephones, and it was an incredibly inefficient and extremely error plagued system. And now everybody has cell phones, and they skipped over an entire phase of landlines.
I can remember being in India when you had to go to a room in town and schedule a call
Right.
a day in advance for the time that you were going to go and use the phone. And yes, now they've leapfrogged all of that. And India may actually be the first really big country that manages to leapfrog much of the fossil fuel era. They're moving into their growth spurt at just the right moment when the price for sun and wind, of which they have an abundance,
Hmm.
has come sharply, sharply down. India earlier this year announced that it had hit its 2030 targets for renewable installation 5 years early, and that fully half of their electric capacity now is renewable. So that's pretty remarkable.
That can't come soon enough for India, which has been choking on diesel exhaust and coal fumes for the
Well, you said
longest
it. You
time.
said it.
Oh
And
my God.
that's the other problem with combustion. It's not just that it destroys the climate, but we think about 9 million deaths a year, or one
Right.
death in five comes from breathing the byproducts of fossil fuel combustion. If you've been to Delhi anytime recently, you'll have no problem believing this statistic. Um, and so the prospect that we could also clean the air, and the prospect that we could lessen the power of those who currently derive their influence from their control of fossil fuels, the Vladimir Putins of the world. All these things are bonuses that come when we shift to an energy system that
Mhm.
takes advantage of the fact that there is sun and wind everywhere on this beautiful earth.
I remember reading I think it was in Hugh Kenner's book on Bucky Fuller, where he introduced Fuller's concept of the energy slave as being the amount of work that a human being could accomplish in a day. And it made me think of a kind of moral equivalence between the misappropriation of fossil fuel energy and the misappropriation of human energy. Um, uh,
There's definitely a way in which this is a very liberating moment, if we choose to make it that way, and on many fronts. Um, one of the ways I think it's liberating is that it reconnects us to the natural world around us. Um, we depend, as you point out now, on kind of buried sunshine, but we have no real relationship to that. It's just a commodity that someone else has dug up on our behalf. But the idea that we might reconnect with the most charismatic object in our universe, albeit the one thing we can't look at directly, is very nice. And it's one of the reasons why, as we're going towards Sunday, we have such an emphasis on art and music, because, unlike there really hasn't been a great deal of beautiful music made about coal and oil and gas over the years, but there's an awful lot of great songs about the sun.
Thank you, Bill, for your work and your commitment. We'll hear a little more from Bill later on in the show. And now, on a somewhat lighter note, here's another Cool Tunes producer, Pearly Ray Gates, with Fossil Fuel Undertakers.
I've been a musician, singer-songwriter, storyteller, and activist most of my life. Had some interesting gigs around the planet. Was in a movie once. I've collaborated with lots of fascinating characters, even a few asses. But the Cool Tunes crew has been about the most spectacular group of folks that I've never been in the same room with, yet have gotten to know and absolutely loved meeting virtually once a week over the last year. Thanks, y'all. It's sure been fun. Anyway, Fossil Fuel Undertakers is 1/6 of an EP called Songs for a Fossil Fuel Funeral, written, recorded, and mixed in my little handmade cabin during COVID and while fighting a dirty fracked gas pipeline. The rest of it is, well, self-explanatory. Take it away, guys. The fossil fuel undertakers are working every day, saving this old planet, gonna make the greedy pay. Those who made the money ought to clean up every well, and if you shirk your duty, you're going straight to you corporate polluters and frackers everywhere. You ain't gonna mess with us no more, we're cleaning up the air. The fossil fuel undertakers gonna bury you one day if you don't change your MO soon and get out of the way. The carbon days is done for, hear the ringing of the bell. And you may not like it, but it's time to plug that well. You corporate polluters and frackers everywhere, you ain't gonna mess with us no more, we're cleaning up the air. The pace of change is faster now, hold on to your hard hats. The old guard's moving out, we're dumping bureaucrats. Demand for oil's plunging, the world don't need your gas. So leave it in the ground, my friend, or shut up. Ask yourself the question, what else can you do? The carbon world is dying, fossil fuel days are through. All around the world now, folks are waking up, looking at this life as a half full cup. Things are getting greener, energy is cleaner. As the story's changing, so the chorus changes to solar panels and turbines everywhere. Folks are driving EVs and we're cleaning up the air. Yeah, we're all pitching in for good and cleaning up the air. Woo! Oh, so much better. Ah, clean air.
Hi, I'm Patty Carpenter in my Sunday hat. This is Veranda Porch, and we're very pleased to be on this episode with a big shout out to Cool Tunes for a Hot Planet. We were on episode 4 with our song Precious Right, which was about voting and taken from a quote by John Lewis.
We were so impressed scrolling through the offerings at the musicality, the variety, and the intelligence and the quirky humor in those pieces, and it was such a privilege to be included among them.
It was. So thanks again. If you want to find our work in the meantime, before we get to be on the show again sometime, we are on Patreon every single month, Patty and Veranda.
Patty with a Y on the end, and veranda with an H.
And in the meantime, we know that you will continue to get in good trouble and find ways to take it out into the world.
That's
Thank you.
right.
Next up is my own arrangement of Malvina Reynolds' song From Way Up Here. I performed this in concert a number of years ago with a string trio, making a version that owes a debt to Indonesian and Indian music as well.
Just a little ball of rock and sea and sand, no bigger than my from way up here, the earth looks very small. They shouldn't fight at all down there upon that little stream. Their time is short, a life is just a You'd think they'd find a way. You think they'd get along. And fill their sunlit days with song. From way up here, the earth is very small. It's just a little ball, so small, so beautiful. Their time is short. A life is just a day. Must be some better way to use the time that runs among the distant suns. From way up here, from way up
From Way Up Here, Malvina Reynolds' beautiful song about our Earth. That was me singing with the accompaniment of the Strings Theory Trio. Next, here's one of our founding Cool Tunes crewmates, Harriet Jerusha Corim, to introduce No More Pipeline Blues, a music video she brought to us first featured in episode 3.
Hi, I'm Harriet Corim. Among the cool tunes I've helped to bring on board this past year, I want to spotlight No More Pipeline Blues, which started with a song by Larry Long and became a video collaboration by more than a dozen artists representing more than 10 First Nations. It celebrates water protectors' courage and wildly creative, soulful resistance, defending the sacred. Artist-activist sheroes that we can see and hear include Winona LaDuke, Jennifer Kreisberg, Pura Fay, and 23rd U.S. Poet Laureate Joy Harjo, plus allies like the Indigo Girls and Bonnie Raitt. First anniversary greetings to all my Cool Tune crewmates, and many, many thanks to our watchers and listeners.
Ninga ishechike nebe onje. Ninga ishechike nebe onje.
This is the same water that was here when dinosaurs were here. There is no new water. This is the only water we will ever know. This is the same water that my great ancestors drank from and harvested our wild rice upon.
On this land where we belong, surrounded by the northern lights. On this land where we belong, beneath the starlit night.
On this land where we belong, wild Monoman grows. Our blood runs red through the watershed of the Mama King.
On this land where we belong, rivers, lakes, and streams flow through the heartland of the sacred Mississippi.
This water is sacred. Water is sacred because without water there is no life. You cannot drink oil.
On this land in which we belong, from the Canadian tar sand, 1 million barrels of oil in the day to come through these sacred lands. On this land to which we belong, with oil thicker than crude, 4,000 workers coming our way, got them pandemic pipeline blues.
This moment is that moment where we face that oil. This is the moment where we face line 3 and say, no, you will not take our water.
On this land to which we belong, with pipelines that corrode, when they break, it'll be too late. It'll kill this river road. On this land where we belong, don't let that pipeline through. No more drill pads on native land. No more pipeline blues. No more drill pads on public land. No more pipeline blues. No more drill pads on sacred land. No more pipeline blues. No more. Don't let that tree come through.
You are a story fed by generations. You carry songs of grief, triumph, thankfulness, and joy. Feel their power as they ascend within you. As you walk, run swiftly, even fly into infinite possibility. Let go that which burdens you. Let go any acts of unkindness or brutality. Let go that which has burdened your family, your community, your nation, or disturbed your soul. Let go one breath into another. Pray thankfulness for this earth we are, for this becoming we are, for this sunlight touching skin we are, for the cooling waters we are. Listen now as earth sheds her skin. Listen as the generations move one against the other to make power. We are bringing in a new story. We will be accompanied by ancient and new songs, and will celebrate together.
Nipe, Gizake iku, Gimi Guachawainamigo, Gijawainamigo. Nipe, Gizake iku, Gimi Guachawainamigo, Gijawainamigo.
Thank you to Harriet Jerusha Coram for playing us No More Pipeline Blues. Next up, we're going to hear more from Bill McKibben. The second half of my interview with Bill, I asked him about music and its role in the climate movement. Let's turn to music. As you know, our podcast is focused at the intersection of music and the struggle for social and environmental justice. Are there pieces of music that speak to your condition, as the Quakers say?
Absolutely. I mean, I borrowed the title of this book, obviously, from George Harrison, and was pleased to learn in the course of researching it that Here Comes the Sun is the most downloaded and by a very large margin, most streamed of all the songs in the Beatles' vast catalog. Twice as many streams as Hey Jude or Let It Be. And I think it's just because there's something about that gentle, optimistic ballad that really touches people. Uh, uh, you know, a, a a remarkable song that I've loved since the very first time I flipped over Abbey Road and put the needle on the first song on side two. Um, and I've loved it in many, many incarnations. If I had to pick one, I think that Nina Simone's version might be, for me, um, definitive. But we have at Sunday a kind of musical ambassador, a great singer named Antonique Smith, whose own version of Here Comes the Sun is sort of the theme song for this day of action. But of course, there's 1,000 other great songs about the sun. The Beatles have a couple more themselves. And 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 so do many, so do we, but back at least to Sunny Side of the Street and up through half the catalog of the Beach Boys, are kind of domestic equivalent of the Beatles, and onto the present day. Lord's version of Solar Power just a couple of years ago was one of my favorite top 40 tunes of recent years.
What about, shall we say, non-topical music? What's the role that people who, for example, I'm a performer and student of Indian classical music, which it's hard to leverage that into something about solar power. But
you've got all those good morning ragas, that seem very much about the rising of the sun. And if there was ever a devoted student of Indian classical music, it was George Harrison.
George Harrison, yes.
So there have been some conversions along the way. But yeah, look, music is a key part of, we think, of organizing, and always has been, because it reaches that other hemisphere of the human brain. And it's no wonder that the most successful movements, the civil rights movement, maybe most dramatically, were singing movements. But they're also, it's not like this movement's going to win completely or overwhelmingly. There's an awful lot of loss and despair, and music helps us cope with that as well. There are days when the most useful piece of music for me is that 60s hit recovered by many, many, including most recently, I think, Kamasi Washington, Ooh Child, the great song of originally by the Five Stair Steps, but whose refrain, things are going to get better, is one I need to hear in times of stress. So I recommend the Kamasi Washington version of that for anyone who's feeling particularly climate doomed at any moment.
That must be a tricky balancing act for you, both being simultaneously a professional optimist and a professional doomsayer.
I'm a journalist and writer above all, so my job is to tell the truth. But we got to tell it in ways that we can act on.
One of the things that I'm aware of in my training as an ethnomusicologist is the extent to which our musical and cultural diversity is diminishing now, and with the spread of globalization and easy electronic media and a lot of digital tools to manipulate sound. Auto-tune, the bane of pop music, originally developed as a tool for exploring undersea oil fields.
Well, you want to know something interesting? It was Bell Labs in New Jersey, the same place where the solar cell that was developed in 1954, that within a year or two of that, they also developed the vocoder in the same place. So yeah, lots of lots of different tools.
Do you feel like our national capacity to pay attention and focus on a problem has been forever diminished by social media and the electronic barrage that we're subjected to?
Yeah, and I think that if I had a magic wand and you gave me the opportunity, I would say, let's get rid of the internet. It's done more harm than good. But one of the places where it's done some good is is the wonderful ability to be able to listen to people's music from all over. I don't know whether that's better or worse than the days when you heard the music of the people right around you and really heard it well and deeply and powerfully. But that's the world in which we live, and we make our best of it. And so I'm very glad for the access to music of the Americas and of Africa and all of that.
Do you sing or play an instrument yourself?
I'm much better as a listener than a performer. The one instrument that I struggle to try and play a little is the hammered dulcimer, which I think is a particularly beautiful.
Oh, that's one of the great ones. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I hope we get a chance to hear you play sometime. That'd be a nice treat.
I think writing may be my art form. So I'm better off. What music I can produce usually comes through prose, and I hope that I'm pleased that this new book is that people are finding that it resonates with them. So.
It's enormously helpful to have your voice, which is equal parts alarming and reassuring, and that's a lot of what we need. And especially, I was thinking, it's a once in a century storm and it's happening once every 10 minutes somewhere. It's a once in a millennium heat wave. And I was thinking about Trump as the sort of political equivalent of a once in a century climate event. He's the giant asteroid that people were rooting for in 2016.
No, we're living in a very difficult time. And I wish that some of the voices that have helped us through earlier times aren't here with us anymore. The death in the last few years of Pete Seeger was for me a great personal loss, but also a great organizing loss. He understood better than almost anyone how to make use of music as a tool for change. And the loss in the last few weeks of Bill Moyers was felt very profoundly by me. He was a friend too, but also a kind of calm and implacable voice for social justice. So on we fight. I think Sunday will be fun, and I think that people should go to sunday.earth and figure out how to join in and make a joyful noise, as the good book says.
Thank you, Bill McKibben. Bill, it turns out, is a hammered dulcimer fan, so it seems like a good idea to share one of this instrument's greats, the legendary Dorothy Carter, and her version of the American folk song, The Squirrel is a Funny Thing.
a bushy tail. He steals all the farmer's corn and husks it on the possum's tail is bare. Oh, the rabbit's got nothing for a tail but a little bunch of hair.
My name is Pete Cronowit, board member from Music Declares Emergency. Along with the Climate Music Project, we created the songwriting workshop and the campaign surrounding the song, I Want to Be Cool. Just wanted to wish Cool Tunes for Hot Planet a happy first anniversary and hope for many cool years to come.
An exquisite hammered dulcimer performance from Dorothy Carter. Now let's listen to another of this show's producers, James Caan, as he shares a song from Sundown, his album of climate-themed sea shanties.
Hi, I'm James Caan, one of the producers of Cool Tunes for a Hot Planet, celebrating our 1-year anniversary of podcasts. We started out as a podcast of music and about issues revolving around climate change, and we still do that, although we've expanded our portfolio to include social injustices of all kinds. But for our 1-year anniversary, I thought I would go back to climate change. I started, my first song on this show was one called By the Rising of the Seas. It was a sea shanty I wrote because from an album of sea shanties I wrote all about climate change and its ramifications, immigrant migration, species die-offs. And I felt like shanties were a good form to use because sailors used to face their own existential crises on the seas, and with storms and terrible captains. And it seemed like a good metaphor for the kind of thing that we're facing now with the storms caused by climate change and terrible leaders that we have to deal with. So my first song was the first song on the album, and I thought I would do the last song on the album from today's song. It's called Sundown, and it was inspired by an ecobiologist friend of mine who said, you know, we talk about climate change and global warming, and people say, but humans are adaptive, and the climate will get warmer, and people will move to the northern climes, and they'll move away from the coasts when rising seas eat up the coastlines, and crops will fail in places where they're growing now, but they'll start growing more in other places. But what people don't realize is that different species have different tipping points. And one day we're going to wake up and no more bees. And guess what kind of effect that's going to have on worldwide vegetation and food. So I wrote this song, and a lot of my shanties were kind of on the dark side because I was feeling dark about the direction our planet was going. But they all end with a lighter note because I think we all have to have hope. And we are an adaptive and clever species. And if we hope and strive enough, we can overcome this particular existential crisis. So I hope you like it. Thanks for listening.
There's one more sundown below the line. The day be gone, and yet the dawn I know will shine. I watched heat stroke the world, great fish dying in the seas, and gone is the day. And I looked round one morning, no more bees, long gone is the holy day by day. And there's one more sundown below the line. The day be gone, and yet the dawn I know will shine. The crops failed next, despite all of our toil, and gone is the day. And I looked around one morning, no good soil, long gone is the holy day by day. So there's one more sundown below the line. The day be gone, and yet the dawn I know will shine. There came seasons of storms, like the earth's rattling chime. Gone is the day. And I looked round one morning, no more time, long gone is the holy day by day. Oh, there's one more sundown below the line. The day be gone, and yet the dawn I know will shine. Still the morning shall come, though I know not what's in store, as gone is the day. But this I can tell you, look away no more, for long gone is the holy day by day. Then there's one more sundown below the line. The day be gone, and yet the dawn I know will shine. And there's one more sundown below the line. The day be gone, and yet the dawn I know will shine. If we're wise, 'twill be fine.
That was Sundown by James Caan. Thank you, James. Next up is a selection from Janelle Chang, our Cool Tunes for a Hot Planet intern, with her own debut on the show, the climate justice Chinese rap song Tug of War.
为不造难地球，谁能够胡扯淡笑话睁眼说小事中的北极不过是幻想，沙漠的情史也算有人自扰。旋风传来崩解冰河的讯息，地球呐喊层层加温，气势如虹，为巴赫比赛加油！九九张张张张，九九变子叫叫，别想活着，危言耸听，不是诅咒，才是行动，值得挽救。巴赫大赛精彩，看懂你真无敌，忘了承诺，电视广告张张闪过，虚子孙一个美丽地球，天地良心，口说无敌，谁分我们？更没有曾经漠不关心的不再倾听。一阵一阵鼓噪旋风传来崩解冰河的讯息，地球的呐喊层层加温，气势如虹，为巴赫比赛加油！九九长长长长九九，美丽地球不会虚构，美丽地球不会虚构，采取行动即可挽救，起死回生，为此笑容。九九长长长长九九，美丽地球不再虚构。Go go 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 go.
Thanks so much, Janelle Chang, for Tug of War. Now we'd like to show you a video put together by our producer-editors, Jack Cochran and Pamela Falkenberg of Outlier Moving Pictures. The video is entitled The 100 Years Binge, Our Current Predicament, and it was inspired by The End of Nature by Bill McKibben.
Hi, I'm Jack Cochran.
And I'm Pam Falkenberg.
Together, we make movies under the moniker Outlier Moving Pictures. In 2022, The New Yorker published an article that Bill McKibben had written and published in 1989. It was called The End of Nature. I read that article and I was totally flabbergasted. All the things that Bill had so eloquently laid out, the problems, the possible solutions, we had heeded none of them. So I said, we gotta make a film about this.
After some discussion, we agreed
that Jack would create a found poem extracted from Bill McKibben's reprinted article, which we would turn into a short film. The completed film, The 100 Years Binge, Our Current Predicament, was completed in July 2022 and has screened in many festivals, including Sustainable Stories in Houston and the North Dakota Human Rights Festival, and received awards from Vesuvio and San Cristobal. So we were excited when Bill McKibben launched Third Act, and we joined up. We helped with the creative group's launch and now work with the Cool Tunes podcast group, helping out with our video skills. Here is a short promo of our video, along with the link to the complete film. Take a look.
This is Lisa Rogers from the Therapy Sisters. I was thrilled to be able to do something in episode 4 of Cool Tunes for a Hot Planet. It's such an honor to be among so many creative third actors who are working and playing together to raise awareness and lower the temperature. Thank you so much for including me, and keep up the brilliant and planet-saving work.
And finally, our fellow crewmate and producer Seth Handelman has chosen this piece, which we've aired in the past, the gorgeous choral arrangement of Arise, Arise by Jean Rowe and Company.
Atlantic and Pacific floor, the Great Lakes and the Gulf of Mexico, the land between sustains us all to cherish it, our tireless call. Arise, arise, I see the future in your eyes. To a more perfect union we aspire, and lift our voices from the fire. We reach these shores from many lands. We came with hungry hearts and hands. Some came by force and some by will, at the auction block or the darkened mill. Arise, arise, I see the future in your eyes. To a more perfect union we aspire, and lift our voices from the
responsibility to be guardians of our liberty, till tyrants bow to the people's dream and justice flows like a mighty stream. Arise, arise, I see the future in your eyes. To a more perfect union we aspire, and lift our voices from the fire. Arise, arise, I see the future in your eyes. To a more perfect union we aspire, and lift our voices from the fire.
Hello, I'm Seth Handelman, a member of the Cool Tunes podcast crew. You can hear my saxophone and guitar licks at the opening of each podcast episode from season 1. I chose the song you just heard, National Anthem, Arise, Arise by Gene Rowe, for this anniversary show because it acknowledges our true history and the more perfect union to which we aspire. As I was revisiting the song, I got no further than the first line when I was stopped dead in my tracks by this: Atlantic and Pacific flow, the Great Lakes and the Gulf of Mexico. This brought home to me the reality of how the dark forces that have closed in on us are not just intent on, but are currently in the process of erasing knowledge, erasing history, erasing culture, erasing climate science, and most alarmingly, erasing people day after day from their communities. With all this darkness engulfing us, this anthem feels like a ray of light to hold on to and to grow into everyone's hearts. So as Cool Tunes kicks off its second year of podcasts, my hope is that we will continue to do our part to inspire positive change and keep us focused on the vision set forth in this song. So as the song says, arise, arise, and we'll see the future in each other's eyes. Thanks for listening, and now back to the show.
Thank you, Seth Handelman, for that beautiful anthem by Gene Rowe, Arise, Arise. And that's all for Season 2, Episode 1 of our show. It's been a long, hard, but very rewarding year. We'd like to offer special thanks to our guest, Bill McKibben, whose work on climate change may yet save us all. We look forward to the coming year when we'll help each other along through the dire straits of today's world with music that uplifts, inspires, and sometimes just makes you laugh. For the credits, we'll listen to Bright Morning Star's rendition of Solar Carol. I'm Warren Senders, and this has been Cool Tunes for a Hot Planet. Please like and subscribe to help the show grow and thrive. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. See the sun, how bright it shines on the nations of the earth. All who share this thing called life celebrate each day's rebirth. Solar power, inexpensive energy. Solar power, inexpensive energy.